We're off and running once again. This is Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr., and coming up on the show, free agency is just around the corner, and the Birds getting a boatload of news today. And that was really the case across the entire National Football League, so we'll get into that. I do want to begin here. I just mentioned it. Free agency begins on Monday. That is the beginning of the legal tampering period. So we will start to hear about these deals on Monday. We're going to be live right here on the channel, and whenever the Eagles and Howie Roseman make a signing, we're going to talk about it and break it down right here on the show. You don't want to miss it, so hit that subscribe button right now as we're closing in on 150,000 subscribers. A popular name around the Eagles right now, of course, is one of their own in tight end Dallas Goedert. As for the latest on him going into free agency, will the Eagles retain him? Will he walk? Will he get paid? Could the Eagles bring him back on a contract that makes sense for Goedert and the team? Mike Garafolo used to work in the Philadelphia market at WIP. I've always seen him around at events like the Super Bowl and the NFL Combine. He's very plugged in for the NFL Network. And he said this a little while ago today. With less than a week until the start of the negotiating window, Eagles tight end Dallas Goedert is positioned to hit free agency for the first time in his career. Sources say the team has expressed interest in re-signing him, and the sides will continue talking in the coming days. However, Howie Roseman has a few balls in the air. A.J. Brown. That's affecting budgeting for his pending free agents. There are some moving parts that could change on a few fronts in the next few days. If he gets to the market, Goedert will have significant interest from other teams interested in the proven, reliable 8-year veteran who had career highs with 60 catches and 11 touchdowns last season. Look, I love Dallas Goedert as a player. For me growing up, the Eagles have always prioritized tight ends, and they have had some damn good ones. Chad Lewis, E.J. Smith was good there for a little while. Brent Selleck was a great tight end there for several years and probably one of the better tight ends in franchise history. Zach Ertz after that, right into Dallas Goedert. But if he's too expensive, because this is probably the last opportunity he has to cash in on a large contract that could go multi-years, draft a tight end. This is a good tight end draft class, and I like some of the players who the Eagles could get in the first round if it's Kenyan Sadiq and he lasts until 23. We'll talk about him a little bit later. Or I think this is a deep tight end class where you can get some quality players at that position starting in round 2 and onward. Now, there is a lot of financial confusion on the Dallas Goedert front contractually because of what the Eagles did with Goedert last year going into 2025. Remember, last year, Goedert was a topic of conversation that we continue to talk about here on the show because we weren't sure if he was going to play with the Eagles in 2025, but Jalen Hurts made a play to bring Goedert back, and it ended up working out well because Goedert was probably the best skill player on the offensive side of the ball in 2025. Jeff McLean of the Philadelphia Inquirer had tweeted this out, that while Dallas Goedert's contract with the Eagles expires next week, the team will take on $20 million in dead money for 2026 if he signs with another team. That could give the Eagles additional reason to work out a new deal with the 31-year-old tight end. Goedert had a solid season as a receiver, throwing out the numbers out there, but his blocking was below his usual standards, for sure, and maybe he was just trying to stay healthy because the blocking did fall off a cliff a little bit. But then there was a clarification from McLean, which was put in motion by Jake Rosenberg, who used to work under Howie Roseman with the Eagles and helped Howie manage the cap. Because Rosenberg said that the Eagles pushed the void back to post-June 1, so the $20 million can be spread out over the next 2 years so that the Eagles don't have to eat $20 million just going into 2026. So not all of it in 2026, but again, some additional reasons for why the Eagles could negotiate Dallas Goedert's return. He cannot be released as a post-June 1 designation to take away from that dead cap charge. On the other side of this, if the Eagles can find a way to bring Dallas Goedert back, I think that's great too, because he's proven since coming into the league in 2018 to be one of the better all-around tight ends in the National Football League. some of those aforementioned tight end draft targets who I really like. Kenyan Sadiq's going to go in the first round. After that, you've got Eli Stowers out of Vanderbilt, who tested beautifully at the NFL Combine. Sam Roush is a huge dude who clocked a 4.7 40-yard dash at like 270 pounds. Oscar Delp, like Sam Roush, is also a really good blocker. Jack Endries is a tight end who can box you out, go up and get it. Definitely has a physical nature to his game. He's got some highlight reel-worthy blocks, but some bad misses. Gifted pass catcher, just needs to be more consistent as a blocker. Sticking with the tight end position, Elliott Shore-Parks, 94 WIP, reporting this today that the Eagles have interest in former Browns tight end David Njoku, who wrote a letter to Browns fans a couple of weeks ago saying thank you. Clearly, he is moving on and is going to sign with another team going into 2026. And then more from ESP here. This would be a signing that gives the Eagles one of the best athletes in the league at the position and finally gives David Njoku an elite, consistent quarterback to play with for the first time in his career, something to keep an eye on. My reaction upon seeing that report, I'm not sure how this makes sense for the Eagles, right? Dallas Goedert is 31 years old, has had some injuries. David Njoku is not much younger. He's 29. He's also had some injuries. And if the Eagles are worried about bringing Dallas Goedert back because he's expensive, David Njoku is also going to be pricey in free agency. Now, is he going to get as much as some of the top tight ends on the open market, like a Kyle Pitts, sign that franchise tag, we'll see if he gets an extension, or an Isaiah Likely? No, but he's definitely in that next tier. The thing that ESP makes a good point with, though, is that Njoku has had a good career, and he's had really bad quarterback play. And if you can pair him up with the really good quarterback, I think that he can be very dynamic because he is an elite athlete. This past year, in only 12 games, again, he missed some time here, 33 catches, 293 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 drops. But the injury is a little bit of an issue here. In 2024, he played 11 games as well. So we've been talking about injuries being a problem for Goddard. Njoku's best season, probably coming back in 2023, 81 catches, 882 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Drops have been an issue from time to time, which is frustrating because he's a physical menace at that tight end spot. So for the Eagles here on their roster, if you could pick one tight end to sign here, who would it be? DG for Dallas Goedert, DN for David Njoku. Share your thoughts with me down in the comments section right now. Now, today's Philadelphia Eagles Now is made possible thanks to our great friends at PrizePicks. We really appreciate them for making today's show possible. Shoot your shot on PrizePicks and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right. PrizePicks is now giving you $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5. PrizePicks makes every dunk, every dime, and every board that much more exciting. So don't miss this chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports picks. PrizePicks is very simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. Pick from all of your favorite sports, anything from basketball, baseball, hockey, UFC, soccer, college basketball, tennis, golf, esports, football once it's back, and more. And then I always like the new features from PrizePicks. They now have early payouts. If your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out of his winnings before the game even finishes. A little bit of a 3-pick power play looking ahead to next year. Myles Garrett, more than 13.75 sacks. I like that. Saquon Barkley, more than 1,225.5 rushing yards, and Justin Jefferson, more on the receiving touchdowns at 7.5. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code CLNS. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. All right. Let's do some more draft talk here on the show. That'll start to ramp up after the NFL Combine, of course, and in the lead up to the draft after free agency. But it's also a pertinent topic right now. In a lot of post-NFL Combine mock drafts, a lot of draft experts and people who cover this league have Oregon tight end Kenyan Sadiq going to the Eagles with the 23rd overall selection. I would love that pick for Philadelphia. Sadiq is a freak. That t-shirt would go crazy, and we'll have those available if Sadiq gets drafted by Philadelphia. My question with him, though, will he even last until the 23rd overall pick? His combine was so good The upside is so great. I'm not sure that Sadiq will be available when the Eagles are on the clock. Athletically, he is truly one of one and a really unique player. And players of that athletic build, athletic potential, who have tested as well as Sadiq just tested, oftentimes are not on the board long. And you think about some of these tight end draft prospects when they were coming out of college who tested really well going into the draft and where they went in the NFL draft, who also had good careers, not guys who just showed out for the underwear Olympics, did nothing in college, tested well, and then didn't have a future as an NFL player. Vernon Davis at Maryland was a baller. He ran a 4.4 flat 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine. He went 6 overall. Kyle Pitts did not run at the NFL Combine, but at his pro day at Florida, he ran a 4.44 40-yard dash. He went 4th overall a few years ago to Atlanta. Kenyan Sadiq just ran the fastest 40-yard dash at the tight end position in the history of the Combine at 4.39. What I love about the possibility of Sadiq coming to Philadelphia, he's a dynamic weapon who's a good blocker. He's an unbelievable athlete. He is a gifted pass catcher. He can make guys miss. He can shake off tackles. He can pick up yards after the catch. Most importantly, though, I just salivate over the possibilities of how Sean Mannion and the Eagles could use Kenyan Sadiq as an overall weapon. You can line him up anywhere on the field. You can put him at fullback. You can put him at H-back. He can be a lead blocker. You can line him up in the slot. You can line him up in the backfield as a pass catcher. Shoot, you can line him up outside because he's running faster than some wide receivers, and he's a pretty damn good route runner as well. 9.43 relative athletic score. And I saw this too. If he tested as a wide receiver, his relative athletic score would have been a perfect 10. The reason why it's a 9.43 and you see some red there, he is a little bit shorter for what some teams would prioritize and look for at the tight end spot. He's 6'3", 241. But the vertical, 43.5 inches. Broad jump, over 11. 40-yard dash, sub 4.4. Guy's ridiculous. And if he's an Eagle, I'll be excited about that. This is also pretty interesting. If the Eagles trade away A.J. Brown, and for those of you who are like, Chase, stop talking about this, I'm going to continue to talk about it because it's one of the biggest stories in the NFL. But if the Eagles do trade away A.J. Brown, a player who Philadelphia could have interest in, who they're linked to right now, is a future Hall of Famer in Mike Evans. So if the Eagles trade away A.J. Brown, Mike Evans could help Philadelphia fulfill that void if A.J. Brown is playing elsewhere in 2026. Mike Evans, according to Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, has the 4 key criteria. This is what Mike Evans wants in his next team. He wants a quarterback who he believes in. Well, Jalen Hurts was an MVP runner-up in 2022, won Super Bowl MVP in Super Bowl 59. Mike Evans also wants a legit chance to win a Super Bowl. He won one with the Buccaneers in 2020. Philadelphia is going to be a prime Super Bowl contender in 2026. He wants a top-shelf offensive coordinator. Sean Mannion might not be that, but he could certainly become that, and I imagine this offensive system would be attractive to Mike Evans. Evans also wants high-volume touches. Well, if the Eagles trade away A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith becomes their number 1. Mike Evans is their number 2. Mike Evans is going to get plenty of touches. Plus, I don't see the Eagles bringing back wide receiver Jahan Dotson, even though the price tag is probably going to be between $1 and $3 million. The good with Evans, he's a future Hall of Famer. He's a very savvy football player. He is a big target who can make plays downfield and come down with some 50-50 balls. The bad with Mike Evans, he's 32 years old. He's had some injury problems over the last couple of years, and he's going to be expensive. Probably north or in the neighborhood of $20 million. But if the Eagles don't have A.J. Brown, wide receiver becomes a huge need for Philadelphia that they could also address in the NFL draft as well. Evans' numbers in 2025, only 8 games played. Now, in those 8 games, he did play pretty well, but he's never been a speed guy. So I do wonder how he's going to age. What's crazy about Evans is that prior to this past year, in all 11 years that he has been in the NFL, prior to 2025, I should say had been because that's past tense, not current tense. Come on, Chase. He went over 1,000 yards. 11 straight years for Mike Evans over 1,000 yards to start his career. Hall of Fame worthy player who I think is going to be in Canton when it's all said and done. And we'll see if he's an Eagle in 2026. I would put the chances of that being pretty slim, but you never know. And then another move for the Eagles coaching staff here. Matt Zenitz of CBS Sports reporting this. He's been all over these hirings for the Eagles with their coaching staff. The Eagles are expected to hire Army defensive line coach Alan Smith as an assistant outside linebackers coach. Previously worked in the NFL as an assistant defensive line coach with the Texans in 2021. I said this on the show earlier. You can never have enough quality coaches on your coaching staff. I'm always talking about the Eagles here. I'm always pushing out additional Eagles coverage on my social media pages. You can find me on X, Instagram, TikTok, at Chase_Senior, some big platforms there. And then I'm also on Facebook, Chase Senior Chat Sports.